Welcome to the Bald Brad Show. Our lead story this morning is something of the supernatural. It has nothing to do with politics and everything to do with aliens, UFOs, UAPs, little green men, hell, whatever the heck you want to call them. They're targeting our Navy warships. And folks, look, I'm not saying I believe in this stuff. All I'm saying, it's in the news. That's all. So this is from once a newspaper, the New York Post, and they say here, a U.S. Navy warship was shadowed by two car-sized balls of light that were unaffected by anti-drone weapons, which obviously is not a good thing. The USS Kearsarge, and forgive me if I'm mispronouncing that, is the largest vessel to have reportedly had a UFO encounter as the U.S. military begins to open up about the mysterious phenomena. Now, I don't know how many of you are aware of what's been going on with Marco Rubio, senators, examining basically these flying objects that are targeting not just our warships, but our military installations on land, sea, as well as going after our fighter pilots in the air. And this isn't one of those like once in a year occurrences. This stuff's literally happening on a weekly basis per the actual fighter pilots themselves, where they're engaging these objects that are going from basically 80,000 feet down to a foot below or above sea level in a span of 1 second. They're just disappearing and showing up on radar to where the training destination is supposed to be, meaning they have the intel of what only the fighter pilots have of where their final, again, destination is to be. So they're beating them there and they're getting there within like 4 or 5 seconds, which is impossible as far as our capabilities. And these guys are trained to see these objects from miles away and be able to determine what exactly it is as far as aircraft. And they're saying, look, this is nothing that we have in our arsenal. Marco Rubio said the same exact thing. He said they're jamming our radar, which is an act of war. All sorts of stuff going on here. And now you have anti-drone weapons that aren't being used against it. Look, again, folks, I'm not saying it's little green men. All I'm saying, we got to figure out what the hell this stuff is, because we're not able to engage it, but it's able to engage us, which is not a good thing. It says documentary filmmaker Dave Beaty, who produced 2019 film The Nimitz Encounters, that's the Tic Tac object, which was a famous 2004 Navy encounter, revealed the reported sighting from October 2021. It said that at least 2 objects are said to have lurked near the 40,500-ton amphibious assault ship for several nights while it was on a training exercise off the coast of the United States. This one's off the East Coast. The Nimitz encounter was off the West Coast in San Diego. And I also want to highlight here is, yes, this was only 2 car-sized balls of light, but some of these objects like the Tic Tac, for example, or the triangle objects that were seen off, I can't think of the ship itself, but these are in like fleets. It's not like just 1 or 2 that we're seeing on video. There's many, many of these objects that are encountering our warships, our fighter pilots, and our military installations. Hell, folks, to give you perspective here, they actually almost launched one of our nukes. That's how serious this stuff is. And again, Marco Rubio's been talking about this, going, look, we don't know what the hell this is, but if they have the capabilities of sending off one of our nukes that we didn't send off ourselves, I would say there's a little bit of a problem here. The phenomena described by sources familiar with the encounter as odds and menacing balls of light are said to have been following around half a mile behind the ship and around 200 feet above the ocean. Beaty was contacted by a now retired U.S. Marine officer identified as Mark regarding the strange episode. The USS Kearsarge had been training at the time ahead of overseas deployment, including with systems designed to take down enemy drones. The weapons included anti-drone Ghostbuster-style backpacks and systems mounted on vehicles. Picture from the ship's public Facebook page reveal that these had capabilities on board at the time of the alleged encounter. The objects are said to have been spotted at night by the deck watch, who could not gain a thermal targeting lock on them. And I do want to mention this again. When these fighter pilots are locking onto these objects, a lot of times they're not able to do so. And there was one video where they actually were able to lock onto it, and the dude was extremely stoked that he was able to actually capture it, which is one of the videos that was released. It is understood the incident was recorded on video by the crew, but this video has not yet been released. Marines on board are said to have believed at first the unexpected objects were part of a surprise training exercise for the new anti-drone weapons. However, they discovered the countermeasures did not disrupt the objects, which were doing swooping maneuvers as they followed the ship. Mark told Beaty that the USS Kearsarge radioed command about the objects and were informed the objects were not ours. The documentarian is attempting a deeper dive into the event, which is the latest UFO incident reported to have been encountered by the United States Navy. And then it goes on to basically detail all the encounters that they've experienced, which I've already labeled here. Now, many of you might have said, hey, it's our technology. Maybe they're just going to do a training, a surprise training like that Marine stated. Well, there you have it, folks. They're saying it wasn't ours. Marco Rubio saying it's not ours. So the only way it could really be is one, a foreign adversary, or it really is our technology and we don't have a clue that it's our own damn technology, nor does our own Congress people know that it's our technology. So who the heck knows what this stuff is? Again, I'm not saying it's little green men. All I'm saying it is a problem. It is a massive problem if this is constantly happening on a weekly basis, that our fighter pilots aren't able to engage it. They're shutting down our systems. They're possibly launching nukes, right? Not literally, but they did trigger it. And you can look that up yourself. So all this crazy stuff's happening. And I just don't want that measure of danger happening upon not just our military, but also our installations themselves. I think it's a national security measure that we need to know who the heck are flying these things. Is it China, Russia? Who the hell knows what this is? But again, folks, I thought I'd present it to you. It's a little change from politics. I think politics are important. I think the news regarding Joe Biden, everything that's going on with Russia and NATO and Ukraine and all that stuff is important, but I think it's also important to take a step back and kind of look at something a little bit fun here and different with the supernatural. With that being said, folks, make sure you like and subscribe, share this with your friends and family all over social media, and I will see you later today here on The Bald Brad Show.